everyone to New Readers Press's webinar, Gemma Open Door, a unique high-low program. We are very excited to bring you Trish O'Hare, publisher of Gemma Media, and Charles Coe, one of their best-selling authors today, to talk about their unique suite of titles for low-level readers. Gemma, hold on one second. Gemma Open Door is a charitable nonprofit organization created by Gemma Media in support of adult and young literacy. While Gemma focuses on memoir, travel, and young adult fiction with a consistent theme of crossing cultures, Gemma's high-low open door books specifically address the underserved population of people who struggle to read. Together, they make a powerful literacy combination that encourages reading. And New Readers Press is happy to carry many of their books in our catalog as part of our Pleasure Reading series. These books are written by best-selling, gifted authors who tell fresh, relevant, original stories with mature themes that build confidence and enrich lives of adult emerging readers. This slide represents just a small selection of the titles we carry. And the Gemma Open Door series provides high interest, low reading level books that are targeted to an NRS 2nd to 5th grade reading level, which is perfect for many adult learners looking to improve their reading skills. Today, we are fortunate to have with us Trish O'Hare, publisher of Gemma Media, former president and publisher of Breeley Publishing, now part of Hachette. Trish has held senior positions in the industry across professional trade and electronic publishing, including Josie Bass Publishing, Inc., a John Wiley and Sons company, National Book Network, Means Business, and Shambhala Publications. Trish will introduce us to many of her titles and provide details on how the support materials can be used in a variety of settings, from correctional to multi-level to one-on-one tutoring. She'll include a few examples of how these books can be used to teach active reading skills and reading in the content, while also inspiring adult readers to lose themselves in a good story. We will also be joined by one of Gemma's best-selling authors, Charles Coe, who will talk about his writing process and read from his book, Spin Cycles. Please feel free to put any questions you may have in the chat box. There will be time at the end for questions. And take it away, Trish.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen here. And here we go. Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much, Karen, for your guidance in getting us to this point, and to New Readers Press for the chance to talk to you today. As Karen said, I'm Trish O'Hare, Executive Director of Gemma, a nonprofit organization that publishes high-interest, low reading level original books, eBooks, and audios by best-selling authors and important writers for those adults and young adults who are on the path to literacy. We firmly believe that adults deserve something better than children's books to learn how to love reading. When I teach adults, Dr. Seuss only goes so far. Our gifted and well-known authors have written, and in some cases recording, compelling high-low stories to engage emerging readers. Oh, we did it. All right, we're off to the races. Never adapted, never dumbed down, these stories are completely original and designed to spark a love of reading. This is sophisticated literature at a simple reading level. Gemma began in 2008. We published cultural and multicultural memoirs, as well as Irish literary fiction. And one of the publishers we partnered with in Ireland had developed the Open Door series, which is the genesis of our program. It's no surprise it was a European company, because there's governmental money in Europe and in Canada, where Grassroots is, to support adult literacy in a robust fashion. It's also not a shock that the publisher was Irish, because the Irish know how to tell a story. We licensed a few dozen of those original Irish books written by authors such as Roddy Doyle and Maeve Binchy. And in those early days, some of our books were carried in the New Reader catalog because people knew them. We saw a need here in America and expanded to American authors on American themes. We now have nearly 60 of these books in print. We have evolved and are now delighted to have a more robust offering of our high-low books in the New Reader catalog. with more to come. We plan between 3 and 5 new titles next year. As we know from the theories of andragogy, a key ingredient to success in adult education is relevancy. Often people with limited English language literacy skills are forced to use children's books. And that further exacerbates the feeling of shame that often presents with illiteracy. So from the cover to the levels, to the subject matter, to the packaging, we try to encourage self-esteem every step of the way. To learn to enjoy reading, mature folks need relevant content that speaks to their own experience. This anatomy of an open door tells you exactly how our books and eBooks work. First of all, we have stellar authors. This is essential to the program. Our authors are our treasure. These are original stories, never adapted, never dumbed down. We're constantly mitigating against the shame that can accompany illiteracy, and we won't talk down to folks. There's a very recognizable narrative in each of these books, from the cover all the way through, to develop skills for storytelling. And the content needs to be relevant to adults, otherwise it doesn't work. These attractive, colorful packages are sophisticated and hip, a far cry from kids' books. We have eBooks for all and audios for many. The technology, which we adapted from the original Open Door series, is 10,000 words or less in the manuscript. They're published on buff paper for ease of reading, wide margins, wide spacing, short sentences, and brief chapters all reinforce that continual sense of accomplishment. And of course, we build in vocabulary building text. Teachers tell us how they use these books. Beginning with the iconic picture on the cover, teachers can start to build a discussion about story and characters, so folks can start to tell their own stories. These are extremely useful in book clubs, whether virtual or other, and some of our reading guides can facilitate some of those discussions. In addition, reading aloud, these books can help develop fluency in class or one-on-one. And because of the relevancy of the content, these stories can start to engage folks in their own daily experience. Who can't relate to driving an Uber? Gemma Open Door provides distinctive pleasure reading for adults and young adults. Again, with self-esteem in mind, this is literature at a low level. Here are some of the talented authors who participate. Kyoko Mori's award-winning first novel, Shizuko's Daughter, was hailed by the New York Times as a jewel of a book, one of those rarities that shine out only a few times in a generation. Her critically acclaimed books include Yarn, Polite Lies, The Dream of Water, and Stonefield True Arrow. Kyoko is professor at George Mason University and taught writing at Harvard. Charles Coe, poet and novelist, is chair of the Boston chapter of the National Writers Union and was selected by the Associates of the Boston Public Library as a Boston Literary Light. We are delighted that Charles will be joining us later in the program. Greta Gorsuch is our new secret weapon. Greta Gorsuch has taught ESL and EFL and applied linguistics for more than 30 years in Asia and the United States. She's a prolific author in the journals, and she's written so far 4 open doors, almost all below the 3rd grade level, although you'd never know it. Mei Chai is the author of 8 books, including the awarded memoir, Hapa Girl, the young adult novel, Dragon Chica, and its sequel, Tiger Girl, which won an Asian Pacific American Award for Literature. Mei teaches writing and literary translation at USF. Professor Tim Rush teaches literacy education and linguistics at the University of Wyoming. Working closely with the tribes of the Wind River Indian Reservation, Tim has helped develop programs for certifying teachers of American Indian children. Award-winning Suzanne Kamada's books include Gadget Girl and its sequel, Indigo Girl. Her short stories, essays, articles, and book reviews have appeared in more than 100 publications, and her work has been nominated for the Pushcart 5 times. She's a 2-time winner of the All Nippon Airways Fiction Contest and winner of the Paris Book Festival. Suzanne Kamada lives in Tokushima, Japan. As you can see, our most valuable contributor is the writer. We ask each author to remember the book that made her or him first fall in love with reading and try and replicate that for new readers. So I ask you, can you remember yours? I remember mine. These are great stories written at a low reading level, addressing such adult themes as families facing the long-term effect of ethnic cleansing, The Orchard. Arapaho history and the forced march to Wind River, A Full Circle. Coming of age in a broken Chinese-American family, Training Days. Breaking the color line in American baseball, Jackie Robinson. Uber driving, The Cell Phone Lot. And let's look at some of our most popular titles. An out-of-work beautician makes a job change and a life change into the bargain. Needing to pay the bills, Jessica begins driving for a ride-sharing company, like Uber. It's scary at first, and she doesn't make a lot of money, but she soon gets the hang of it. The Cell Phone Lot follows Jessica as her new friends at the airport cell phone lot help her to find a new life and just perhaps get some of her old life back. And this is a book that's an example of a book with great hooks for engagement. So you could start class discussions about being an immigrant and trying to make a living in America. Uber driving and how that works. Beauty school and makeup. And Jessica in the beginning is falsely accused of theft. What is her recourse in America? An audiobook accompanies this title to help with fluency and comprehension, performed by the author herself. And an in-depth language arts and theme-based approach reading guide is packed with questions, classroom activities, and writing prompts. Barn Cat is a family tale from New York Times notable author in her stride. A young girl leaves Tokyo with her mother in 1979, carrying her little pink suitcase. She's going to a new home, a new father, and a new sister on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. 33 years later, her mother's belongings are packed up in boxes, her furniture is wrapped in sheets, and without so much as a note, she leaves her daughters. So what happens when people lose their way? Like a little barn cat, Kyoko Mori says, they grab onto a second family and start again. This is mid-fourth grade reading level. With permission from the Arapaho elders, Tim Rush was able to present a rarely told story about American history and Native history. In 1878, 2 years after the greasy grass fight that some called Custer's Last Stand, U.S. soldiers rounded up nearly 300 Arapaho people. They were forced to walk from Fort Robinson in Nebraska all the way across what is now the state of Wyoming to the Shoshone Indian Reservation, which we now know as Wind River. Within weeks, however, takers had come to capture some of these terrified children. They were shipped off to boarding schools back east, where they were stripped of their identities and assimilated into white culture. Most of them quickly died. A Full Circle gives a fictional account of several generations of Arapaho and their experience during this painful period. This is a great book for engagement around American history and Native history, and what happened and continues to happen to Native Americans in their own land. Overcoming prejudice, exclusion, and even hatred, Jackie Robinson broke the color line and became one of baseball's best players. He was recognized by the Hall of Fame and has inspired many young people to fight segregation and ignorance for the chance to follow their dreams. Through both his career and his character, Jackie became one of America's greatest heroes. This is his story by a seasoned and celebrated sports writer. The New York Times review described Joe Shuster's novel, The Might Have Beens, as a meticulously peopled tale of opportunities lost. Publishers Weekly raved. Class activities around this book can revolve around the perennial problem of racial inequality, sports' place in our culture, and sports heroes. What do they mean to us, sports heroes? You can also talk about how to follow one's dream against against obstacles. And an audiobook accompanies Jackie Robinson to help with fluency and retention. Formerly enslaved people are part of a group that leave Kentucky, travel north and west, and cross into the Iowa Territory. In 1833, Iowa was not yet a state, and no one knows if the state, when formed, will enter the Union, free or not. So this intrepid band crossing the Mississippi don't know their future, but they have tremendous hope. Iowa did, by the way, enter the Union as a free state. Key City on the River is based on fact. It explores a little-known time in early American history. And as usual, Greta gives us a rip-roaring yarn below the 3rd grade level. Greta's character development and of many people in an adventure that has an uncertain outcome can help students really understand the narrative arc, the structure of a story, and they're motivated by interest. Class activities can revolve around slavery, American states and territories, even geography, especially the centrality of the Mississippi River. And an audiobook accompanies Key City. Like the author Kristen Witucky, Lewis' sister, Emily, is blind. She's also in the marching band, gets great grades, and sculpts in clay. She has the biggest bedroom in the house to accommodate her Braille machine. Everybody thinks Emily's accomplishments are extraordinary, and most think she can do no wrong. The single person who doesn't feel any awe or pity for her is Lewis. He thinks she's a pain, and he wants to have his own life. Then a family tragedy begins to bridge the gap between brother and sister. Funny and touching at the same time, the transcriber explores a variety of disabilities, some self-inflicted, as well as the power of sibling rivalry and reconciliation. This is mid-4th grade. There is a reading guide that adds comments from the author, as well as pre- and post questions for discussion. Lisa's grandfather is turning 100, and her family is gathering to celebrate at Grandpa Joe's home, a sprawling apricot orchard in Southern California. In the orchard, Joe and his wife Anna have fled their home country in one of the most horrific ethnic cleansings of the 20th century. A piece of land with a thriving orchard gave a new beginning to a new American family. Lisa wants to preserve the beloved orchard, but everybody else wants to sell. Lisa is gearing up for a battle, one that intensifies when her daughter falls in love with a man from the wrong ethnic group. Will the family's history tear it apart, or will they find deeper binds? Let's start that again. Deeper ties to bind them, sorry. This is mid-3rd grade reading level. The orchard itself has a lot of hooks within the story to engage students. You could build activities and discussion around apricot jam making and the place of food in culture. I know when I teach, I've often used the concept of sharing recipes from our different home countries in classes. You can talk about the legacy of ethnic cleansing. Again, you can talk about geography. Just what was the Ottoman Empire? The mother-daughter struggle is always one to talk about, as well as discrimination based on ancient ethnic feuds. Based on the true story of Lori Foost's family, Toast explores the tender, scary, funny, and often complex relationship between a girl and her autistic little brother. 11-year-old Mia and 10-year-old Will love playing Minecraft. They love eating pizza, playing in the yard with other kids. But Mia knows that because Will is on the autism spectrum, things are different from him. For starters, he does not like things to change. If the pizza is just not so crusty, he won't eat it. He uses lines from Disney movies to answer most of his questions. And if his toast is too dark or too light, there will be a meltdown. When mom and dad announce they're getting a babysitter for the first time, Mia is very alarmed. What will happen if the babysitter doesn't understand Will? We'll have to find out. This is at the 3rd grade reading level. And then there are 2 newest books. Queen Serene. Out on the plains of West Texas, tall, beautiful Queen drives a garbage truck. She loves everything about her job, except maybe the flies. But after her husband leaves her, she relies on this job to make a living. She soon buys a house across the street from her beloved grandmother. Betty's living daughters, that would be Queen's aunts, pull a fast one when Betty's in the hospital and try and strip her of her possessions. It's Queen to the rescue. This is at high second grade reading level, and there is an audiobook that accompanies. The Spy. This historical drama is based on the real-life experiences of Gertrude Sanford Legendre, the first woman to be captured as a spy in World War II. The Spy stars Pearl Dubois, a Southern belle born to a prominent New Orleans family. During the Second War, she wants to help the Allies with the cause and lands a job in Paris working for the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, precursor of the CIA. Pearl convinces her boss to send her on a secret mission, bringing photos of enemy spies to General George Patton, stationed at the Belgian border. On the way, Pearl and 3 of her companions are ambushed by Nazi soldiers. She becomes a prisoner and must survive by her wits until she can plot her escape. This is low third grade reading level. The Spy has a short vocabulary section at the back of the book to help readers unfamiliar with either the history or the terms. And this is a great starting point to talk about a little bit about world history, about women finding new roles, and the thrilling topic of espionage. Gemma's Open Doors are original, relevant books by serious and beloved authors, written and produced with self-esteem in mind for new readers every step of the way. Here are some samples of the kinds of programs that have and use our books, and you can see it's a wide variety. To help teachers, mentors, and readers get the most out of the book experience, we have added some resources, like reading guides for many. These free downloads are available at the New Readers website. SnapReads. These are serial adaptations of 3 of our books at the first grade reading level. There are 5 to each book at the first grade level, and they act as on-ramps to the bigger book. We're planning more of these SnapReads in future as they become very popular scaffolding for teachers. And audiobooks. Like total physical response, putting a finger on the text while listening to the audio in the ear becomes a powerful practice in the acquisition of language and fluency. We hope our audio and book pairs do the trick. So for the 2 million people entering the United States each year in need of English fluency, to the 36 million people who struggle to read above the third grade reading level, to the generations of readers who see how literacy enriches their lives, Gemma tries to bring the best writing we can find to encourage the joy of reading, because literacy is a human right. And now a treat for us all. Listen to me. Charles Coe is going to share some insights on constructing a sophisticated story at a low reading level. And he'll read a bit from A Story of Loss, Discovery, and Just Possibly Redemptions, the book Spin Cycles, which is about a brilliant, homeless, and nearly invisible young man wandering through Boston looking for meaning. Unable to thrive in mainstream society, he goes to laundromats where he calms himself by watching the clothes tumble round and round and round. And in the streets, he finds other people like himself below the radar. This is at the high 4th grade reading level. Charles is a poet, prose writer, teacher of writing, and a musician. In addition to Spin Cycles, Charles has published 2 books of poetry and is at work on a memoir. Peach Pie, a short film by filmmaker Roberto Maiti, is based on Charles' poem Fortress and has been shown in film festivals nationwide. Charles was selected by the Associates of the Boston Public Library as a Boston Literary Light and spent 2017 as an artist in residence for the city of Boston. He served as poet in residence at Wheaton College and the Chautauqua Institution. He's taught in the Bay Path University MFA Abroad program and is adjunct professor at Salve Regina University in Newport. We are delighted to have Charles and his unique voice in our series, and I am pleased to introduce you to Charles Coe.
Trish, thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us today. I want to say just a little bit about Spin Cycles before I start to read a bit from it. I worked many years in downtown Boston, and I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and homeless people here are part of the landscape. I know there are some people who think that homeless people are homeless through their own doing. And without going down the rabbit hole talking about the factors in our culture that contribute to homelessness, I'll just say that attributing all homelessness to poor character and lack of discipline is really a way for individuals and societies to say, hey, it's nothing to do with me. When I started writing Spin Cycles, I wanted to do a book that would belie the myth that people are homeless because they lack character or discipline. The nameless narrator in Spin Cycles is homeless because he's mentally ill, which is very common on the street. Now, doing a book that would deal with an adult theme like that at a level appropriate for new readers seemed like a challenge, but what at first felt like a restriction really became quickly the freedom to write a story that was honest and simple and direct, absent of the tricks of the trade that one often uses when writing for an adult audience. Now, our narrator is a fictional character. There's another character you'll meet in this short section I'm about to read, who is based loosely on someone who did once walk the streets of Boston. So I will now start at the beginning on an afternoon in early fall. How beautiful. The late afternoon sun has turned windows and buildings along the Charles River into golden mirrors. Light shines through the few leaves still clinging to the giant oaks. The wind plays its timeless game with the leaves. One moment it blows hard to make them flutter and wave. Then it dies down to leave them hanging quiet and still, waiting for a new gust. 8 women in a racing boat are rowing hard as they approach the Weeks Bridge. Their oars kiss the water's surface in perfect rhythm. A motorboat moves along beside, and a woman with a blonde ponytail tucked in a Harvard baseball cap leans over the side, shouting instructions and encouragement through a megaphone. The boat disappears under the bridge, comes out the other side, and continues on its way, slicing smoothly through the calm water. I feel a pulse as I watch them speed down the river. It's a drumbeat so low it can only be felt, not heard. It's the rowers' hearts, beating together as one as they row together like an engine made of flesh and bone. The pulse grows fainter as the boat, tiny as a bathtub toy, disappears around the bend in the river. I'm sitting along the riverbank, leaning against a tree on a sunny Saturday afternoon in early fall. The grass and walkways along the river are filled with walkers and joggers and bike riders. A group of people playing volleyball on the lawn behind the Kennedy School laughs and shouts. The day seems cool to picnic, but a few blankets are spread out on the lawn. A young couple is smiling at their child, a toddler with a pink ribbon in her hair. The little one has just taken a bite of pickle and can't decide if she likes it. She frowns for a moment, then breaks out in a giggle. The students are back at Harvard after their summer break and now are buzzing with excitement of the new school year. It's strange, I suppose, that I keep coming back to this place that's such a big part of the life I've left behind. Or maybe it's a life that's left me. The memories are painful and strong, and perhaps I shouldn't be here, but on such a beautiful day, it's hard to stay away. As the afternoon shadows grow larger, the air is turning cold. The young family is packing up their basket. The volleyball game is over and players start taking down the net. I rise from the grass, brush the leaves from my clothes, and start to walk along the river toward Boston. A woman is slowly pushing a baby carriage. The baby reaches out with both arms, wiggling her fingers, learning how they work. Our eyes meet, and I see her look of wonder. An old soul fascinated by her new body. I smile as her mother tosses me a nervous glance and pushes the carriage faster. I wish I could talk to the little one, try to explain how the world she's landed on can be so beautiful and horrible at the same time, but I can't. I would just frighten her mother. I feel a moment of sadness as I stop and watch the carriage move away. But just then, a single oak leaf falls to the sidewalk, glowing orange and red and covered with delicate yellow veins. It was born as a bud that burst into brief green life and chose this moment to break free from its branch. Like a brightly colored bird on its first and only flight, it has drifted to the pavement at my feet. The leaf lifts my spirits. I suddenly feel the blood moving through my own veins, the sap that fuels my body. When I'm feeling this way, I have to be careful not to attract attention. I have to remember not to dance on a street corner when I hear a certain song on a car radio. Not to stand on the sidewalk laughing at a clever display in the store window, because people are watching. They are always watching. I will feel the heat and see the judgment in their eyes. Then my winds shift. My thoughts turn thick and heavy, and every passing face is carved in stone. And the great black swirling cloud that no one else can see floats above my head. It follows me as it always follows, with the patience of a vulture. But for the moment, thanks to this random leaf, I am safe inside my bubble. And my bubble will carry me into Boston to find somewhere warm to sit until the stars come out. And then I would go to the place where, for tonight at least, I will sleep. Walking calms me at times like these. My mind begins to rest on the rhythm of my footsteps on the ground. Soon I've walked all the way to Copley Square. And as long as I keep moving, I'm warm. Trish, back to you.
Oh, technical difficulties, sorry. Charles, thank you so very much for reading and for contributing that beautiful story to our series. Charles has also recorded this for us, so you can hear that beautiful voice again with your students as you read through this book. I want to thank everybody at New Readers again for this opportunity, and I hope that this is of some use to you. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Many thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Trish, for sharing your titles with us, and Charles for sharing just a little bit of your story with us. I know I lost myself in your voice and in the story, so I thank you for that. I don't see any questions in the chat box, so what I'm going to do really quick is just share with everyone where you can find Trish's books and the book collections. They are going to be out on our website. So if you go out to our website, you're going to go to this adult education tab, click on the pleasure reading tab, and then you'll be taken to the Gemma series. Once you get to the Gemma series, you'll see all the lists of titles as they are here. There's about 25 of them that we carry. And then if you click on this free resources, you'll see where we have audio guides, reading guides, and for some of the books, we also have SnapReads along with a tool to let you know how to use SnapReads and a tool to let you know how to use the audiobooks. There is also a tools and reading chart here. So before we go, Trish, I'm going to check this chat and see if we have any more questions. I did get from people, we will be offering a certificate of participation that we'll send to you along with the recording. For those of you who reached out to me privately, I can fulfill your requests. And let me just see, I got a new message. Yes, lots of thanks to Charles and Trish for the series and for participating with us today. And with that, I don't believe we have any more questions. If anything occurs to you, you can find your sales rep here by going under Find a Sales Rep. And once you click on that, you can put in your state and be connected to your sales rep. We'd be happy to get you a quote for the books or the book series. And or if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to your sales rep. Let me just see. Hopefully, Peggy, I know you sent me a private message on that. Hopefully that answered your question about contacting your sales rep. Alba Austin, thank you for giving me your email address. I will get you that information. And 1 second while I check this chat again. Yes, for those of you who are asking whether or not these are appropriate for high school, Trish, do you want to make a comment on that?
I can. With very few exceptions, these books are appropriate for young adults. We try and make that point because it's a blurred line between young adults and adults. There are a couple of books that the topic area is very sophisticated. A man loses his wife to cancer. That's probably a little rough for teens. But if you want to write to me, Trish at Gemma Media, I'm happy to give you some guidance because we look at the books in two different ways, not just the reading level, but the maturity level as well. So I'm happy to give some guidance around that. Okay,
1 second, let me, yes, they will work with older adults as well.
I would say also, I told you the book about a full circle. A full circle, there's a law in the state of Wyoming that all children have to have at least one unit on Native history before they get out of middle school. So the book A Full Circle is actually being used by kids in middle school in Wyoming.
Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions that we received, Trish, and that's pretty much everything in the chat. So we want to thank everyone for participating with us today. We will be forwarding out a recording and I will point you in the direction of the website so that you have all of that information available to you. We also put together a list of descriptions of the books along with what their reading level is. So it's kind of a condensed chart for anyone who wants that, and we'll forward that along with the recording.